Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Learn GCP with Mahesh. Today we'll see 10 interesting facts about Google Cloud Platform services. So it's not on an individual service but on a various services. I've tried to collect some 10 interesting facts. So let's go through them one by one. So the first interesting fact which I have collected is about the Google Cloud Platform Status Visit. This is a widget which is available on the Google Cloud Platform console. Usually you will see it in two colors, either green or red. What does that indicate? Let's see that quickly. Alright, the widget which we're talking was this widget. So usually you will see a green strip. So if you see a green strip, it indicates that all the services in GCP as of now is working fine. So that's what it indicates. And if you want more details, you can click on this and it will take you to the page where it will show you all the statuses. So if you see on 5th, everything looks fine. So that's what it indicates. But on November 1st and November 2nd, there was some serious issues there. If you go to the bottom, you'll see there was a service outage. So in that case, the widget will show red. How it looks, let me show you. So I had taken a screenshot of that on my number. So it shows something like this, where it shows a red strip. So this is a straightforward indication that something is going wrong or there's a service disruption or a service outage. So this could be really a helpful tip whenever the customer calls you and says like what's going on. Is it something service is down or the application is down? So as a cloud architect, if you can come to the console immediately and see what is the color. So if it is green, then definitely there's something issue with your application or your workload. Check it out. And if it is something to do with the infrastructure itself, you can directly inform your customer saying that there's a service outage or service disruption. So that's the first tip which I wanted to share. Moving on to the next tip, which is on App Engine and Datastore. So as most of you know, App Engine was the first product which Google launched when they started their cloud journey way back in 2008. And at that time, to store anything behind the scene, to persist the data, they used Datastore. It was not a separate product actually, so it was joined together in the beginning itself, but later Google realized that Datastore could be really a good product which can be used apart from App Engine. It can be used independently. So that's the reason they made it as a different product and named it as Datastore, and now it is called as Firestore, the next generation version of Datastore. But even till today, you will see that tight coupling or tight integration between your App Engine and Datastore still exists. Even though they are separate products, they still exist as there's a tight coupling between them. How do you verify it or how do you see that? Let's see that in the console. So this is your App Engine screen where you'll see I have not created anything in this project. And if you directly, and it shows there's nothing provision, and if you go to your data store and open up, it will show you again it's not enabled. So that's what it indicates, and it also shows you that whenever you select a specific region, for example, when you click on App Engine and select in which region you want your App Engine to be provisioned, the same region is what gets fixed for your data store also. So if you select this, any one of them, like for example, usually I select Mumbai. If I select Mumbai, my data store region is also fixed to Mumbai. It is the same case with your data store also. So if you say, for example, come to data store, select one of this option, the native mode, you see this option, you choose this location carefully, and this location is permanent. You cannot change this later. And also this applies to your App Engine app. So if I select my data store in a specific region, my App Engine gets fixed to that region. Whether it's App Engine standard or flexible, it does not matter. The same thing if I select something with select my region in App Engine, the same region gets fixed to my data store. So that shows there is a tight integration still exists between App Engine and data store. All right, moving on to the next interesting fact. App Engine, as most of us know, Google is available in 20 plus regions. So not 20 plus, exactly 20 regions as of today. But App Engine being the first product which Google launched it is still available only in 15 regions. So it's not available in regions like Taiwan, Singapore, Netherlands, Finland. I'm not very sure what is the technical reason, or what could be what's the reason why it's not available. But it's not available in those regions. So what it indicates is, the quick takeaway is, if you're trying to develop any application and you want to uh, plan for in these countries, then you will not be able to host your app engine in these countries itself, like Singapore or Taiwan. So, or if you want to create a mobile app in Singapore and you want to uh, position it in for Singapore market, you cannot use it. So that is the straightforward indication. And as I mentioned in the previous feature itself, region is something very, very important when it comes to app engine, because these regions which you see, the 15 regions, the moment you select it, so if you just go back to your screen and try to select it, select this one, you see this, the region is permanent. So as most of us know, App Engine is one of the compute options. We have Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, Cloud Functions, and Cloud Run. So in these things, you can change your region zone easily if you don't like it, if you have not, if you have used the wrong region. But when it comes to App Engine, per project, the region is fixed. That's it. So if you have created a project, if you have created an app engine with a wrong region, there is no other way to change it. The only way is you need to create a new project. So that is the importance of region in App Engine, and it's only available in 15 regions. So very weird. Why? Because I have, to my understanding, Taiwan, Singapore, these are regions which was launched very long ago, but I'm not sure why I don't see those options in the drop down nor in the documentation. So that's a fact which I found. Moving on to the next interesting fact, again App Engine. So maybe like top three were like App Engine itself. So this is the last one. When it comes to App Engine, you cannot delete it. So when it comes to Cloud Functions, Cloud Run, Kubernetes Engine, and Compute Engine, if you don't like it, you can delete those resources. But when it comes to App Engine, I would say App Engine is a different animal altogether. You cannot delete it. You cannot delete your App Engine, but you can only disable it. So this is another interesting fact which I found. So how do you disable it? Let me show you that. So when you come to your app engine, and under app engine you will have a settings, that is the last option there. So if you click on that, you will see this option where you can disable the application. So you can click on this application, it asks for your project ID and you give it. So usually app engine is attached to your project ID. So one app engine, one project. So that's how it goes usually. So you can only disable it, you cannot delete it. If you want to delete it, the only way is to delete the entire project. So that's an interesting fact. Moving on to the next interesting fact, this is with respect to the serverless compute request timeout settings. So we have seen in previous videos the 7 wonderful features of GCP, where I had talked about the serverless options. So when it comes to the compute option, it is your App Engine standard, Cloud Functions, and Cloud Run. These are your serverless options, but they, since it's serverless, you get lots of wonderful features there. But you need to keep in mind, when you're designing your applications or your microservices, the timeout period is very, very important. When it comes to App Engine standard, it's 1 minute. Cloud Functions, it's 9 minutes, and Cloud Run is 15 minutes. So what do you mean by request timeout for people who are looking into this video for the first time? So if you send a request, and if the request takes more than 1 minute, your app engine is going to time out, and it's going to say either like 502 error, like bad gateway, or some other error saying that the request was not processed. So it cannot take longer time. So it has to be quick and crisp. So if your request is taking longer time, you can use some options like task queue. So that is one option. Or you can use some messaging service like PubSub and all those things you can use it. But keep in mind, as a cloud architect, when you're designing anything, if your request is going to take more than, for example, if it's Cloud Functions, if it's going to take more than 9 minutes, definitely it's going to time out. So just keep that in mind. So I just wanted to show you this in a small demo. So this is a nice article which Google has created on serverless options, and they have a a table where they compare all the serverless options, App Engine Standard, Cloud Functions, and Cloud Run. And in that, they have very specifically mentioned all those things. And if you wanted to see that live, I have one option. So Cloud Function, very easy to show. Say, for example, if you just create a Cloud Function, give a name of your choice, and usually you will have this hidden where you'll see timeout, environment variables, networking, all those details. Click on that and the timeout period. So if you just try to give it as extra one, it will show you it has to be maximum. It can be maximum 9 minutes. It cannot go beyond that. And don't ask me the reason why it's 9 minutes. Looks weird, very weird, but this is how the system is designed. So it's maximum 9 minutes. All right, moving on to the next interesting fact, the sixth one, no network in Middle East, Russia, and China. What do you mean by that? So we have talked about in various videos about the good features of VPC, and this is the diagram, or this is the image which you would have seen in many Google presentation, and even I have emphasized, I have done various demos on this, taking this as a reference. But one thing which you can see quickly is this part is blank. The Middle East, Russia, China, there's no VPC. And it's nothing to do with Google, I would say. It is, as most of you may know, it is due to some political reasons why you don't see a VPC there and Google does not have a presence there. Uh, so that's an interesting fact because we talk about VPC and we also know like this is one of the largest software defined network of its nature and in the entire planet, and almost like 40% of the world's internet traffic is on this network, but it cannot be present in these three uh, regions, I would say, like Middle East, Russia, and China. And I also see it's not there in Canada to an extent, but there is a good amount of presence in North America, so definitely it should substantiate it. But this thing, if you are a Middle East customer or a Russian customer or a Chinese, a China-based customer, you may need to think of some alternatives. For China, I would say Taiwan and Hong Kong could be used, a closer region, but for Russia and Middle East, it could be a challenge. So, but just keep in mind this is nothing to do with the Google's capability. It's only the political reasons why they are not able to do it. Moving on to the next interesting fact, memory store. So memory store is your managed Redis instance. So in memory cache, if you wanted to do, usually whenever you provision your memory store in GCP or Redis instance in your GCP using the memory store option, it always gets provisioned with only internal IP address, no external IP address. What do you mean by this? So if you provision this resource and you get only internal IP address, you cannot connect it from your local machine. Say for example, usually the developers develop applications on their local laptop. They try to connect to the cloud instances. It could be Cloud SQL or anything, Cloud SQL, or it could be data store, whatever it is. They usually try to connect it via a external IP address. So even data store, it is a different this thing. So let's ignore it for a minute. But if it's, for example, very simple, if you have a Cloud SQL instance, either it could be MySQL, Postgres, or SQL Server, and you're developing applications on your laptop, which is on premise. So how do you connect it? Usually expose it with an external IP address. You connect it using the connection string. But if you are doing something with Redis instance, and you only have internal IP address, definitely you cannot connect it if you don't have any cloud VPN or cloud interconnect setup. Now assume you don't have anything of that sort. You are having a standalone laptop, maybe it's connected to your home Wi-Fi network, and you want to connect to memory store. How do you do that? So you need to use a Bastion host. Create a virtual machine which has an external IP address and use a port forwarding and then try to connect it. So this is an interesting fact. I thought of sharing a quick demo on this. So this is your memory store instance. So you can give an instance ID and the display name of your choice, and either use Redis 3.2 or 4.0. I prefer to use the latest version. It's always recommended. And you have different tiers, whether you want a HA or you want a cost-effective solution, choose that and select the region of your choice. And since a memory store, it's primarily in-memory database, the only requirement which you need to do, or only details which you need to give, is how much memory you want. More the memory, more would be your billing, and that's it. You can just leave it and create it. And if you still want to have some specific IP address of your choice, you can give it. But please remember, this is your internal IP address based on what is your network you are using. So click on create, and once it is created, you will come to know that it only gives you an internal IP address. So I'm planning to do an upcoming video where I wanted to show how do you connect to a memory store using a Bastion host. I'll show you that. But for now, when you finish the demo, you'll come to know that it's only internal IP address. So let's hold on to that. The memory store instance is getting provisioned, so the internal IP is not still allocated. So let's wait for a minute or so for it to come up. And once it comes up, you'll understand that it's usually in 10 series, because the default VPC is always in 10 address space. So it should be definitely in 10 address space. So let's wait for that. Alright, our memory store has been provisioned, and you see that it is in 10 address space. So that is the stuff. So if you want to connect it, definitely you need to have a Bastion host which has an external IP address. So using which you can do a port forwarding. Definitely I'll try to do a video on the upcoming session. So that's the next interesting fact. So next fact is the eighth one, which is on direct peering and carrier peering. So just for your information, so when it comes to connecting on-premise with GCP, you have three different types, or three hybrid connectivity options, three different options. The first one is the very popular one is your VPN, so which is a very trusted and reliable way. People know it works. Whether it is any cloud, so it definitely works. It's a standard procedure. So cloud VPN is one option. So but definitely you will have some bandwidth constraints in it. So if you don't want bandwidth constraints and you want a good SLA, and you have a huge bandwidth requirement, like at least minimum like 10 Gbps, you can use cloud interconnect. And the last option is if you are using G Suite and GCP products together, usually those customers prefer peering option, direct peering or carrier peering. And if you come to your home screen or your web console, you will see under hybrid connectivity, you have Cloud VPN, interconnect is there. But you can go search, spend a good amount of time. What you will realize that is direct peering is not there. So what that indicates is it's not a Google Cloud Platform service offering, but it is a Google product offer. So that is what I wanted to convey here. So if you really wanted to activate the direct peering or carrier peering option, you need to come to this website, peering.google.com, express your interest based on the requirement. So you need to fulfill certain requirements, only then you may use this direct peering or carrying peering option. But please make it very clear, it's not a GCP product, it is a Google product. So you may say it's a subset, but definitely it's not available in the GCP console. That is the message which I wanted to convey. So hence direct peering and carrier peering is not available in the web console. Moving on to the ninth interesting fact, cloud data lab. So this is an interactive Jupyter Python notebook which gets provisioned on a virtual machine or GC instance. But the fact is you cannot create a data lab instance using your web console, and it is not also, it is something very similar to your direct peering. I would say you will not be able to see any data lab link in your web console. So the only way to provision that is using your command line. So this was one of the first video which I had shown in my YouTube channel. So let me just quickly show you what is it all about. So the data lab, so it is a exploration tool. It's nothing but a Jupyter IPython notebook which gets provisioned on your virtual machine. So if you wanted to provision it, and you can just go and look into it, you will not be able to see any place. The closest one which I would say is when it comes to notebook, when it comes to your AI platform, this notebook to an extent can come close to your data lab, but data lab is an altogether a different product offering. You will not be able to provision it directly in the web console. The only way to do that is you can refer to my video, the first video which I did in my YouTube channel, where you do it with data lab, create instance and do it. So that's how you do it. And if you want to connect, you can use data lab connect and the instance name. So this is how you can do it. So it's not available in the console. So that is the message which I wanted to convey here. And the last and the most interesting fact, which will be really definitely helpful for most of us, that's your Cloud Shell. So how can I have a interesting fact without Cloud Shell? So that's one of my favorite service offering, I would say. When it comes to Cloud Shell, usually it will use lots of your gcloud command, gsutil commands, all those things. So gcloud, gsutil, all these things are part of your Cloud SDK. Now, if you have installed Cloud SDK on your laptop, usually there is something which you need to do regularly. You need to keep on updating your SDK because every day or maybe based on the frequency they are going to update your SDK, and you need to manually do gcloud components update. Something like this you need to do very frequently if you want to stay up to date. But when it comes to Cloud Shell, the benefit which Cloud Shell gives you is the Cloud SDK is always up to date in your Cloud Shell environment. Another beautiful feature of Cloud Shell. Let's see that in demo. So if you come to this page where you see the release notes of your Cloud SDK, as of today, 6th of November, you see the latest Cloud SDK was released on 29th of October, and the version is 269. So that is the version. And if you just come to your Cloud shell and just type gcloud version hyphen version, the version which you get to know that is this one. I don't need to update it manually. So um, the only one occasion where I have seen is it was not up to date was it was maybe the time period it takes is slightly maybe like a couple of minutes or maybe an hour of duration where it gets updated slowly. But most of the time I have seen it is up to date. But this is not the case with your local machine. You need to manually do gcloud. You need to do something like gcloud components update, something like this you need to do every time. And if I do something like this, it will, okay, I need to do this, okay, I don't have permission, let's say it's okay. So update components, okay, update. So but the important thing is the gcloud version is up to date. Sorry, the gcloud latest version is always up to date in your Cloud Shell environment. And just a small note, you cannot do this on your Cloud Shell, that's what it indicates, but you can do the same thing on your local laptop. So those were the 10 interesting facts which I was able to collect on specifically on certain specific services. Please let me know which fact you like the most in the comment section. Thank you for watching.